brand new movie franchise ranking here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg. Today, with the release of Avatar, Fire and Ash, I'm going to stop and rank all three entries in the 16-year franchise. So welcome back to Max Talks Movies, guys. If you're new, guys, to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications so you can get notified when my videos drop. I drop 1 to 2 videos every single day, so please subscribe. I do movie, TV show reviews, out-of-theater reactions, these type of franchise rankings, box office breakdown shows, and awards season videos every single week here on the channel. So please subscribe, ring the bell. I'm trying to get to 400 subscribers here to start 2026. We're under 20 subscribers away, so it would really mean a lot to me, guys, for you to subscribe. Comment down below. What is your ranking of the Avatar franchise? Is this one of your favorite, least favorite franchises? Do you want to see a fourth entry? I'll respond to all comments, so please comment down below. And also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. So also, before I start, guys, I have done a non-spoiler and spoiler review for 2022's Avatar: The Way of Water. And I've also already done an out-of-theater reaction and review, non-spoiler, for Avatar: Fire and Ash. When I talk about Avatar: Fire and Ash on this ranking, it will be a non-spoiler. So again, if you were wondering where this movie stacks up with the rest of the Avatar movies before you go in to see it, I'm not going to spoil anything that happens in Avatar: Fire and Ash. So, without further ado, let's get started with this ranking. Starting at number 3 for me is the first Avatar movie, which came out in 2009. Now, when I saw this movie as a 7-year-old, I think really everyone in 2009, our minds were kind of blown by the visual spectacle that was Avatar. It was definitely one of the first movies that I can remember seeing as a child where I was like, I've never seen anything look like this in my entire life. And it was really the visual stuff that really took over my memories of the movie and why I really did love the movie. I've seen this movie a billion times. I can quote along Avatar for the most part. Now, the more I watch the movie, it's definitely not the best of the franchise, in my opinion. I do think, again, I feel very similar to the first Avatar as I do the first Harry Potter. Two amazing looking movies as retained, and also just really two amazing world building, setting up foundation movies. Where this movie is a jaw-dropping visual movie, but also just amazing world building. You understand the Na'vi, the humans versus the Na'vi, the Pandora as the world, the creatures, how everyone communicates, the totem poles, the religion, all of that stuff you get in this movie. But I do think out of the entire franchise, this has the most cliche and honestly pulled stories from a lot of other movies of the whole franchise. If it's Dances with Wolves, which a lot of people like to say, you've seen these type of stories all the time where the new person gets entered into this new culture, they have to train, become kind of the person who to take over the culture, all these other things. And you've seen also a lot of movies where the white people as the humans or humans in general just try to take over this area where there's a different race or creatures or all the different types of. You've seen this story done a billion times. I still think the biggest problem from a story issue is more the human stuff. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Korra, Stephen Lang, and Sigourney Weaver's character, but Jake has always been way more interesting of a character in as a Na'vi than like Sam Worthington, the human performance. I think the motion capture work from Sam Worthington is really terrific for the franchise. I'm not the biggest fan of him as like a live action actor. So I think when he's like the lead as like a live action actor, the movie can get very cliche and just weirdly timed dialogue and performances. I think when we focus on the Na'vi, the movie obviously works, but the movie's going back and forth a lot between the human world and Na'vi. I think that's what hurts what hurts this movie the most because the rest of the films are entirely, for the most part, like 95% all about the Na'vi. We're not really seeing as many human characters. I think it's what benefits 2 and 3. But again, the world building is amazing. The score, too, from James Horner is amazing that they had to carry on after his death. So definitely an amazing world building movie that really sets the stage for a big franchise. But from a story level, I think it's the safest of the 3 movies. Moving on to number 2, guys, for me is Avatar: Fire and Ash. I was actually kind of nervous at times going into this movie. I love the trailers, but the critics were very lukewarm on Avatar: Fire and Ash. And I myself was like, maybe this might not be the return to form, but I never doubt James Cameron. And for me, at least, as a big fan of this franchise, this movie absolutely delivered. Fire and Ash is definitely a long movie. It's the longest of the franchise. Should it be 3 hours and 17 minutes long? I do not think so. Does this movie at times use very similar storylines from Avatars 1 and 2? Yes. Like Loak's storyline is beat for beat his storyline in Way of Water. The third act, the way we get to the third act setup, is very identical to what they did in the first Avatar movie. With all that being said, though, I thought this movie was epic. It felt really big. I thought it was the first time in the franchise where the main characters were actually in danger. You can feel the stakes were really risen with this movie. And I just was swept away in this very epic story. Now, again, is this the greatest story ever told? No, but I am a fan of simple storytelling. And we're in a world now in 2025 where so many of the top IPs or blockbuster movies go for this very overcomplicated storytelling, confusing, very much for the hardcore fans, not for the casuals. And I really think what James Cameron, while again, I am not saying the stories here are amazing in the Avatar films. I think they're very easy to follow, very simple, and it makes for a very, I think, fun experience. I think we have the most violent, but also just the best action of the franchise. The last hour is so satisfying to watch. Quaritch, who's my one or two favorite characters of the franchise, is the MVP of this movie as he's trying to understand where really he fits in. Because obviously he's the memories of a human being. He has a son who's a human being, but he's now full-on Na'vi. So where does he stand in the totem pole? What team is he playing for? As he always says in these movies. And Stephen Lang just really delivers, especially when we meet the fire people, the fire tribe in this movie, who are another just really good addition. They could have easily played where now the Sullies leave for another group, but Una Chaplin as Varong is the most terrifying villain of the franchise. Some really good stuff with Neytiri here as well. Jake as well, just a really strong performance. I think it's Worthington's best performance of the franchise. As I said, I think at times it's very repetitive from the first two movies. And again, some points it can be quite cliche, but I was really swept away in Avatar Fire and Ash. It's a visually stunning movie, which even improves on the amazing look of Way of Water. For me, though, it's a little too repetitive, some key elements of Way of Water, and that's why it's at number 2. But at number 1 for me is Avatar, The Way of Water. I was really excited for the movie, because just like the first Harry Potter, I thought the first movie was a good movie to set the table for a franchise. It was up to the sequel to really deliver off of what the first film set up. And I thought Way of Water really smashed it out of the park with a sequel. It's one of the best franchise sequels of my lifetime, in my opinion, because the difference is in 2009, the first Avatar movie still looks pretty good today, but it just does not even, it just pales in comparison from a visual perspective to where we are today, 16 years later. And not just does the Na'vi and that world look better, where we're now including this water tribe led by Cliff Curtis and Kate Winslet, and we get the water elements in here, and it is just a jaw-dropping visual spectacle. It's such a gorgeous movie. I've seen the movie 4 or 5 times now. I still don't understand, and I've seen documentaries. Still unbelievable how they pull off all of the visuals in this movie. And I thought what they did was they did a really good job setting up this Sully family, because Jake is a military person, and the way he is the father to his children is very much like a sergeant. Like all of his kids say yes sir to him the whole movie. And Neytiri, who you would think is the more badass, the more very not emotional, but she can be very violent in her actions and stuff like that. She's the one who kind of pulls back a little bit and says, "You're kind of going too far." When she even says, like, they are not a platoon, they are your kids. And when it goes too far for Neytiri, you know that Jake kind of goes too far at times in this movie, and it leads to kind of Loak being the outcast of the family. I think it works in Way of Water. I feel like it's such a retread with Loak in Fire and Ash. But I think in this movie, his relationship with that whale creature, who's also an outcast in his clan, I thought works much better in Way of Water than it does in Fire and Ash. I thought Kiri was also a really fascinating character in this movie, where she's the daughter of, Sigourney Weaver's playing a teenager, but she's playing the daughter of Grace, the Avatar version of Grace, and for some reason keeps getting all these Eywa references to herself. She feels like she can feel Eywa breathing. that really added a really good element to the movie where she's very unpredictable. You don't really understand what's going on with her, but you know something special is really going on with her. And the fact that she's not a blood related child to Jake and Neytiri, but they see her as one of their kids is also, I think, quite powerful. And my favorite part with Quaritch in this movie, which is that when he realizes, obviously, his mission is Jake Sully. That is the mission from the beginning of the movie when Quaritch is brought back with his memories as the human version. But when he goes to the battle site of the first Avatar movie and he realizes that it was Neytiri who killed him. Like Jake fought him obviously, but it is Neytiri's bows that were in his body. And Neytiri is by far for me the best character of this franchise, and she was, she can be, as I said, a really great mom, but she's also just an amazing warrior. And I can't, without saying, Zoe Saldana is by far the best performance. And I said the character of the franchise, she's so mesmerizing as Neytiri. In the first half of the movie, she's a really wonderful mom, honestly, and defending her kids in front of Jake and all of these things. But when she needs to get into the action, she gets into the action. And the scene where Quaritch, after already killing the oldest child of the Sullys, has the youngest child of the Sullys hung up by the knife, threatening, and Jake's about to give himself up. Without even a question, Neytiri threatens to kill, obviously, Quaritch's kid, Spider. But again, Spider was kind of like an adopted child to the Sullys, but more friends. But the kids see Spider more as family than Jake and Neytiri do in this movie. And Neytiri was really going to kill Spider. She's like, I don't care. Your son for my son. I lost my blood son. This is really not my son. And she kind of is so relentless. But the Quaritch, he wants to kill really Neytiri in this movie. And I find that revenge plot line with Neytiri after realizing her son died, and then Quaritch's battle to find Neytiri the whole movie to give this movie more intensity. But as I said, the beautifulness of the water and meeting this new tribe. Kate Winslet and Cliff Curtis were really good in this movie. The reasoning on why the Sullys have to move for me made a lot of sense. I think this is a fantastic movie, which I think took this franchise to the next level. So what are you guys' thoughts, guys, on the Avatar franchise? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.